Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of Blind Eye Scouting. This, with the draft in our rearview mirror, the purpose of this kind of channel is to go over all 32 NFL teams, go over their draft grades, grade them myself. I mean, obviously, you can never get it all right, but it serves as a fun opportunity to go over translatability for all these players, their roles in the NFL, look at some like gems in the 6th and 7th rounds, go over who they were as college prospects, where I project them to be. And honestly, it also gives me an excuse to watch tape to get to the players who I didn't get to beforehand. And yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. I have a ton of interesting guests in the upcoming week. But let's kick off the first ever episode with my very own Cincinnati Bengals. So, unlike most drafts, we did not have a first round pick. And that's something that is very important to us. We've spent it in the past on very bad prospects. As a Bengals fan, I'd never seen a draft go completely right, except for when we had Joe Burrow. The only time we make good picks, it seems, is when they're consensus picks, and it really just hurts me overall. I'm actively happy we traded that first for Dexter Lawrence. And let me tell you now, just a little bit of foreshadowing, I ended this draft cycle very happy, or very at least kind of surprised, because the Bengals have not drafted well typically. And with that being said, let's get into the first pick, which is at the 41st pick in the second round. We took Cassius Howell, the edge or outside linebacker out of Texas A&M. Double-digit sack producer, kind of this lighter, twitchy, athletic edge rusher, transfer from Bowling Green. I'll get over the very specifics of him and who he is as a player in a second. But before I go over all that, I do want to say we have never been able to draft edge right. And it feels like for maybe 7 years we've had that spot next to Trey Hendrickson wide open. Sam Hubbard has always felt replacement level. He's kind of been the de facto edge too, like the person who, he'll do his job, he'll run defend, he'll sometimes get you to the passer with a bull rush or a power move. But we tried. We tried to replace him. We really did. We took Zachary Carter in 2022. Going back to 2017, Jordan Willis in the third round, Miles Murphy, obviously famously in the first round of the 2023 draft, has not panned out. Joseph Osai didn't pan out either. He's now on the Jets, I think. It's just been a hard time for Bengals fans. The only kind of production we've had is from a player in Trey Hendrickson who didn't even originally play for the Bengals. And this kind of gets to something I want to talk about, which is we're not great at developing edge rushers, clearly. Cassius Howell to me is special. Cassius Howell to me is different. I graded him. I did a full evaluation on him. It's over at Blind Eye Scouting. But what stood out to me about him, he is just slippery as all get off. I watched his film against LSU. I mean, he's 6'2 and a half, kind of 253 pounds. Very, very light player. Obviously, at that size, he won't give you much against the run. He actually, I didn't find him to be all that bad. He played the run kind of like a linebacker in terms of block shedding and kind of quickness. He just really won't hold a blocker at length. He won't really power through someone. He'll sometimes get around a block to make a tackle. He does better than kind of the frame would allow, but overall, that's not what you drafted him for. You drafted him for pass rush. Slippery guy. When I watched him against LSU, the first thing I said, I think, was, he can't be blocked. They had these two freak athletic tackles, and it seemed like whichever side of the line they lined him up on, he was just beating his man every single play, and quickly, too. I mean, he had really athletic, really quick, twitchy first step, could kind of win with speed enough to offset the tackle to kind of, let's jump set him, let's kind of get a quicker release on this kick step. And the second they did that, this is a very underrated aspect of his game. He has a killer inside counter. He has a spin. He has swipes. He has swats for days. No matter which way he chooses, it seems like he always gets to the quarterback, especially in that LSU game. I know in some later games against Miami and whatnot, he struggled a little bit more. And I'll get to his kind of major flaws in a second. But overall, I truly think his pass rush ability is NFL translatable. He just has the quickness, first step, and twitch to get past any tackle. And I firmly believe that he could win at least 1 in 5 reps against the best of the best. He truly is that special of a pass rusher. Again, double-digit sack guy. You can even drop him back into coverage at times. All the moves in his arsenal. Obviously, I'll address the elephant in the room. He has 30 and 1/4 inch arms, which I think are the shortest in combine history. He ran a 4.59 40, which is, it's good, but it's not kind of elite. Although I do believe his game speed is much, much higher than that. I do think he can win despite having shorter arms. This has been a big point of controversy throughout his entire career. I think at this point just becomes faith. I know he is the oddity. You say, okay, you want your edge rusher to have 33-inch arms. Sure, 32 is a reach. Okay? 32 is a shorter arm player. You're taking a shot on him. 31 is a reach on a reach, and 30 is a reach on a reach. Like, the levels to this, that 30 and 1/4 is so low in comparison to all these other NFL edge rushers. They exist, and it's just clear. Like, you can see it watching the tape. I don't think it makes him any weaker. He's actually a very strong player, and he kind of has tree trunks for arms, in my opinion. Like, he has these big hulking arms, even if he's not getting to the opponent's chest every play. You can view him how you want. I think he can be an NFL-level pass rusher, and I stand on that belief, and I think he'll give us at least kind of a 10-sack season in the next couple of years, especially replacing edge 2 role. We signed Boye Mafe. You're going to have a nice balance on both sides of the line. You have Shamar Stewart still developing. I kind of like these. I think Trevor Sikkema referred to it first as hockey line edge rotations, where you have kind of your speed players, you have your power players, you have your run defenders, and like hockey lines, they actually switch them in and out every kind of 2 or 3 plays. Very interesting thing about the Bengals defense. Al Golden runs with a lot of linemen at times. He really likes those kind of hybrid linebacker edges, which Cassius Howell is and was at Bowling Green. Overall, I really love the pick. I think he fills in a need for our team very well. And it was kind of the first time I looked at a Bengals pick and I got really excited. I remember last year seeing Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter go off the board, and I could have almost cried. In general, A-plus pick, Cassius Howell. I think that it was a phenomenal pick, especially for the 41st pick in the draft. This is a player who I had as a first rounder, late first, kind of early second. He goes at the 41st pick. It's impeccable value. Now, yes, the Bengals had a good draft overall, but in kind of classic Bengals fashion, we did burn a couple picks, and I think the next pick in the draft was maybe my second least favorite. It was Tacario Davis, the cornerback out of Washington. I had not watched any film on him going into today. I turned on the tape today. I watched him against Michigan because I think that their scheme is really interesting, and kind of seeing how cornerbacks play against it tells a lot about who the cornerback is. And I just didn't see much. I'm being so honest. Washington put him, he's a 6'4", I think 6'4", like 194, 195, 33 and 3/8 inch arms, ran a 4.4 130, so clearly a good athlete. Like, he's built for press pan coverage. He has the arm length, he has the size, he has the length. And then Washington's just putting him in off-man coverage every single play. Off-man or deep zone. And it just confused me a little bit, especially against Michigan, a team who's trying to be physical up front, who's trying to run the ball down your chest. It was just interesting. Anyway, kind of didn't end up gleaning a lot from that game, so I turned on another game against a much more traditional spread offense in Illinois, which I did get a lot from, and I'm really sorry to say that it was not good. The Bengals drafted Tacario Davis, his nickname, Tac Davis. I watched I think it was Al Golden speaking after the draft, or it might not have been Al Golden. But the Bengals had a lot to say about this pick. Obviously, they knew it was a reach. It was a reach on the consensus board. And they were like, yeah, we like this player. We're going to take our type of player. He's great in man coverage, and that's all we really care about. And when I turned on the tape, and I was excited also. I was a little bit excited. Physical corner. I like physical corners. I turned on the tape, and I just want to read out like some of my pro and cons list, because I think it really says a lot about who he is. The first thing I noticed is that his closing ability was just not there. I mean, people would break on routes and he would take ages to get back to them. His eye tracking was fine. His ball tracking was fine. He just clearly wasn't that fluid of an athlete. He wasn't a fluid enough athlete to get on double moves, to get on these kind of elite wide receivers, especially Donovan McCulley from Michigan was hounding him all game. He had a slow trigger. He reacted to the quarterback's eyes pretty slowly. His change of direction just wasn't there. Despite having a 4.41 40, I found his burst to be a little underwhelming. I mean, I really thought he was going to be able to catch up to these comebackers, to get these PBUs. He just couldn't. It wasn't there. He was a little slow. It felt like he was always one step behind. I would love to see him impress more, but again, Washington just kept him an off man. So it hurt. It hurt me to see. It hurt me to see him being used like that. And it gives me hope. Maybe there's something that like you haven't tapped into yet. Here's the big problem. We got to the red zone, and he had one rep, which I watched against Illinois, locked down his man. Just locked him down. The very next play, ball gets thrown his way, and he just grabs. And this happened 3 times throughout the game. He would be right next to his man. The guy would kind of have a step on him, and he would grab to make up for it. He would just grab the guy, got called out twice on it. The third time he should have gotten called out, and he didn't. Got away with it somehow. He grabs to make up for a lack of athleticism when he is an athlete. He doesn't have the technique. The technique's not there. His closing ability is limited in both run and pass. He just really did not strike me as a third-round pick. I mean, this guy looked like a 6th-rounder to a UDFA, in my opinion. In terms of pros, like there are some good things. I think he can be a kind of mismatch weapon with his size and length against tight ends in certain formations. He had pretty impressive mirroring ability for a receiver's feet on the break. He could mirror those pretty well. Good ball tracker. I did say he did seem to be pretty steady against the run and against screens. He could get off blocks pretty easily. Physical as all get off as a tackler. I mean, he forced, I think, 2 fumbles that went out of bounds in the Illinois game. Really physical guy. I'm excited to see him. I'm not excited to see him with our only 3rd-round pick with 72. The other thing that this really makes me worry about is, like, Dax Hill does really well as a cornerback, as a boundary corner. And I'm really scared that if the Bengals like Tack Davis, they're going to put him at boundary corner and move Dax Hill right back to slot or safety. And, I mean, that could fuck everything up again. Sorry. Yeah, overall, I just did not like the pick. My final grade on it was a C-. Just not my favorite player, not my favorite pick. Here is where I will give the Bengals all the credit that they need. And in fact, this is, I very rarely, I just want to be clear. I know I've given out an A+ for Cassius Howell and this next person who got an S. This is an oddity. I'm typically very harsher side with my draft grades. Connor Lew, the center out of Auburn, was in the 4th round, was one of the most incredible picks I've ever seen. This is a player I've been hearing about all offseason as a 1st-round pick. Kind of very young, 21-year-old, really steady all around is how he was described. I never watched his tape for myself, but very good player. Obviously, if he was in contention for a 1st-rounder at one point, he has to be. They took him with the 128th pick following a season-ending injury. I'm going to be honest, don't be surprised if in 3 years we look back on this and say he is a top 10 to 15 center and the Bengals fleeced everyone else in the room. 6'3.5", 310 pounds, 32 3/8 inch arms. He didn't run a 40 time, obviously he was injured. I turned on his tape against Missouri and I was so thoroughly impressed. I mean, this guy seems like he plays like a 1st-round pick. He plays like a top 20 pick. Rock solid anchor. He had quick hips in the run game. He did not get moved back in pass pro. In fact, I even wrote down he was an absolute rock. Really smart player on combo blocks. Got low in pass pro after initial punch. Good leg drive in the run game. He was astounding in both phases of the game to the sense that he would not get moved back. I mean, he carried his weight very well. His hips were kind of rock steady. In the run game, he would always hit his assignment on time and with high IQ. Obviously, on those combo blocks, he knew where to go. He knew, even when his linebacker leaked out a little, he knew where to go to or where to adjust to. Really smart guy. He had the power. I mean, it was always there. He could move people off the ball. He could lock down in pass pro. I don't think he got beat once genuinely. Just one of the most rock-steady players in this entire draft. My favorite center in the entire draft. I'll go out there and say it, despite the injury. Great vertical mover, especially when climbing. I mean, I thought his vertical movement skills were amazing. He never really outright lost a rep. I think he might have lost like 4 reps in the course of the entire game against speedy edge rushers and whatnot. And I'll get to his cons in a second, but never really outright lost a rep. He would never get beat quickly. If he went down, it would be a slow, grindy death and typically give enough time for the QB to do something. When your QB's Jackson Arnold, it's a bit more of a problem, but when it's Joe Burrow, it definitely won't be. The only cons I had on his game, I mean, he didn't have kind of elite level movement strength. Like he could move people off the ball. It wasn't at this kind of astounding level, but it was still very good, and I thought good for college especially. Movement skills when swinging out to tackle, I thought were, or like swing out to kind of the edge gap, the A gap. They were there. It was just a little harder. Again, he could do it. He could do all of these things. He struggled with impact blocks. Like when he was pulling again, it just didn't look as fluid as it could have. But these are very, very trivial concerns, especially for a center, especially in the Bengals system with Zach Brown. We don't really typically run pull plays with the center. And even then, I think he can do it. I think he could learn to do it. He clearly has the IQ for it. He has the feet for it. Just kind of pulled with a little less power, a little less tenacity. But overall, I really liked his game. And the very, very last thing, again, a very, very big or a very small and trivial thing. He had a couple of hiccups in pass pro. He lost to a push-pull once. He lost to kind of like a speed rush from a linebacker. Sometimes if a player slants in on him immediately, he'll get caught off guard. Typically, he keeps his head up. I think this happens to the best of prospects. Sometimes he struggled to get his hips adjusted. But overall, this was my favorite pick, I think maybe in the entire NFL draft. I could not be higher on Connor Lew out of Auburn. It gets an S for me. I mean, I truly think he'll be a top 10 center in the league in 3 years. He is incredible. And to follow up this roller coaster of a draft in the trend of Tack Davis, we have, with our 140th pick, Colby Young, the wide receiver out of Georgia, who I absolutely hated. I absolutely hated this pick. I gave it a D overall. And I mean, the problem with him is, there's just not much film. I watched his Ole Miss game. Yeah, he had a catch. He had 3 catches. One of them was kind of a deep ball. Didn't really deserve it. He was schemed open. He didn't do much to get open. He feels to me like your typical Georgia wide receiver prospect, and that's not a good thing. I mean, this isn't like a Ladd McConkey. This is in the last couple years you see like Dylan Bell, Dominic Lovett, all these kind of, they had some good games at the Shrine Bowl, and they never really pan out in the NFL. Arian Smith, to name a couple. They just don't pan out in the NFL. They're low impact players. Colby Young, I don't think whatsoever stands out from the rest. In fact, I think Anais Smith stood out more than him. I think that Dylan Bell stood out more than him. Even Dominic. All these players stood out more than Colby Young. He's a 6'4", 218, 31-inch arms, touted as an athlete, 4'5", 40, nothing special. I mean, I watched his tape. He was in maybe every 3 drives. He doesn't run routes with conviction, was my first note. He didn't really run routes with intensity, especially when he knew he wasn't getting the ball. He didn't do much as a blocker. His speed and change of directions were definitely, or speed and change of direction was not NFL level whatsoever. He struggled to gain true separation, which is never something you want me to write for as a receiver. He struggled to gain separation at all. He doesn't try on some routes, going back to the first point, and he just didn't seem like an NFL talent to me in any categorical sense. He didn't stand out whatsoever. And if you're not standing out genuinely at all, by the way, I saw maybe 5 other players who stood out more to me than he did just in that Georgia wide receiver room that game. He just didn't stand out at all. He did nothing for me. I said, if I had to give him something, he had decent ball skills. He could break open field tackles after the catch a little bit. Georgia really schemes people open for this. They run a lot of kind of wide receiver screens. You see with Zachariah Branch, London Humphreys, like they're much better than he is after the catch. But he could break a couple tackles. Fluid mover sometimes. He's good at selling routes, double moves. I think that he'll be off the roster in a year. He just did not do it for me. And listen, the Bengals might know something that I don't. Maybe they had a workout with him where he showed out. It's fine, I guess, taking a flyer on it. Overall, hated the pick. D pick just didn't impress me much. I'll try to make it a little quicker for these 6th and 7th rounds picks, but I still did do a full film breakdown for all of them. Brian Parker the second, is the first one. He played tackle at Duke. I think he's clearly going to be a center in the NFL or even a guard, but I think he was pretty adamant on playing center. Balled out at the Shrine Bowl is the first thing I want to mention with him. I watched his game against Georgia Tech, but he stood out to me before any of this when I was watching Shrine Bowl footage itself. But yeah, this is a player who I really wanted to like more than I did. And I didn't dislike him. I gave him a B overall pick for 6th round, 189th pick. A B is a perfectly solid pick. At the Shrine Bowl, he stood out. I turned on the tape. He just didn't. I should also mention, when I was looking at him beforehand, what made me really like him, a lot like Hollins Pierce of Rutgers 2 years ago, who went to the Giants. I mean, Brian Parker had outstanding PFF grades. I mean, 88.2 overall, 87 run blocking, 82.5 pass blocking grade. I really wanted to like him. Like, I really wanted him to be one of my guys. And he was fine. Measurables real quick. He's 6'5". He's 309 pounds with 32-inch arms, 32 and 7/8, so 33 overall. It didn't seem like he had 33-inch arms, I'm going to be honest with you. It seemed more like he had 32-inch arms or 32 and maybe a half. 5'1", 440. He is your prototypical kind of swing tackle who sticks on a roster for 4 years and who can kind of, if you need a Band-Aid starter, he can go in. He won't piss you off. I mean, he'll give up a couple pressures. Really good run blocker. Pros, I said, impressive movement ability for someone who's kicking into interior. He used his upper body physicality well, especially on combo blocks. Just an absolute mauler in the run game. I think he had multiple pancakes. Really strong guy, really strong kind of hands and good punch. Fast get off. Good job mirroring footwork of lighter edges. He is also a very heads-up and aware player on combo blocks and blocks downfield. He knows where his assignment is. He knows what to do if his assignment leaks out. And he had decent hand fighting in pass protection, but that is honestly where most of his flaws come in. He was a really clunky mover. He could play a little high at times. His short arms showed so vividly in pass pro. I mean, he let defenders get into his chest every single time, especially against a relatively untalented Georgia Tech pass rush. His kick step and pass protection ability were borderline UDFA or undrafted free agent for an NFL tackle. Really good thing he's kicking into guard. I think a lot of those things will be mitigated. His anchor is at best questionable. He got knocked back on initial punch a lot of the time when he couldn't get his hands on because, again, he had shorter hands. There are some people like Panay, or shorter arms. There are some people like Panay Sewell who are really good at working around that and who can create amazing pass pro sets without it. He's just not one of them. He had a jump set sometimes, but his anchor wasn't there when he did. Like, occasionally he'd be able to jump off on a lighter edge rusher, and then he'd just get bull rushed into the ground, and it hurt to watch. His punch was a little wide. Overall, again, not a great pass protector, but a solid dude, someone who you can stick on as a Band-Aid. I gave it a B pick. In the 6th round, I think that's who you want. I really wanted to be more impressed with him, and I just wasn't. 7th round is someone who I watched pre-draft. I'm going to pull up my scouting from before then just to see it. Jack Endries out of Texas, but I watched him at Cal. Yeah, I had him, I think, as my tight end 4 or 5 going into this year. Yeah, my tight end 5. going into this year. He's a really interesting guy. He reminds me a lot of your prototypical Texas tight end, a lot like a Gunnar Helm. He'll block his ass off, maybe not be the best at it, maybe not be the most physical, but he'll certainly do it, and he'll do it to the best of his ability. Decent route runner, fluid hips, not kind of this absurd route runner or route technician, but he'll put a double move on you every once in a while. He can do well in the straight line if you really want him to. He ran a 4.62 40, 6'5", 245. Just a really consistent player. Reminds me a lot of the Gunnar Helms of the world. I really want him to do more this year. Texas had a weird offense also, I think played into it a little bit. Like they weren't clicking whatsoever in the first half of the year, and then Arch turned into like Eli Manning. Like it truly, first half and second half Texas are two completely different teams. Jack Entries kind of stayed the same throughout. What I did find interesting about Jack Entries is they used him on screens. I thought he performed pretty well after the catch. He could break tackles. He was pretty physical. He reminded me a lot of Jack Besh, the wide receiver out of TCU after the catch. Just a complete bowling ball, which I do want to throw in there. I mean, the Bengals, we've had Mike Gesicki, Tanner Hudson. We have a lot of very mid players, Eric All Jr., we have a lot of very mid players who are route specialists / blocking specialists. I don't think any of them bring the after the catch skill set that Jack Entries does, so I'm excited to see how we use him. Yeah, I gave the pick a B+. I didn't think he should have fallen to the 7th round. At the very latest, I had a 5th to a 6th round grade on him. Yeah, it's good value for a player like him. I watched him against Ohio State. He's a good player. He can play football at the NFL level, and I think for a 7th round pick, he was good value, and I like that we picked him. Lastly, with the 226th pick in the draft, we took Landon Robinson, the defensive tackle out of Navy. He was a player who received a ton of hype going into this process. I got very excited about him. A lot of people were saying, oh my God, it's Aaron Donald. He's 5'11", 293. Like he has the frame. He's impressive at a low level of football. If you're going to compare anyone to Aaron Donald, they better be good. And Landon Robinson, he was solid, but he was not anywhere near that. I mean, he wasn't near making an NFL roster. And it also, watching his tape made me realize just how special Aaron Donald was. Because, let me talk about Landon Robinson for a second. He is 5'11". He is 293. And he's a good player. And he played at Navy, and he was a solid player. Just not this high-impact player. He wasn't this always at the QB. He wasn't this complete rock in the run game. And it shows just what a normal talent 5'11 player does at the college level. He gets eaten up in double teams. His anchor isn't there. He has shorter arms. He finds himself on the ground a lot because a lot of O-linemen have much longer arms than him and can dominate him. I think he'll get dominated by higher tier guards in the NFL for sure. And unless you're Aaron Donald, again, really, really big oddity. I don't think athleticism is enough to justify this kind of build at the NFL level. Overall, he felt like I truly enjoyed his tape, and I'll get to his pros in a second, but he just didn't feel like he was built to be an NFL player. He felt like he was built to be a college football player, and that is exactly who he was. His pros, he has really, really good initial power on his punch. He's a good stunt guy, phenomenal movement skills along the interior of the defensive line. He could play edge. He kind of lined up as this 3-tech edge, 2-eye. He was going everywhere between those zones. Really good player, honestly. He can muster bullet-like power if everything goes right, if he can get his hands onto the defender, which, again, happened maybe 50% of the time. The leg drive is there, but, again, limited usage because he can't anchor all the time. He plays his heart out. Really good dude off the field, also, from what I've heard. I think it's worth taking a flyer on a player like this, and I'm being very honest. Like I like it in the 7th round. I don't understand why he got so much hype. I don't understand why teams brought him in for top 30 visits. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Overall, I gave this pick a B, which I think is fair for who he is as a player and who he'll be at the NFL level. Overall, like this Bengals draft class was amazing in my opinion. A minus overall. Great draft class. I do want to go over some undrafted free agents now, just to kind of put them on your radar if you're watching. Isaiah Nwakpa, safety out of SMU. I had a 5th to a 6th round grade on him. Really good ball skills, really rangy guy, not as physical against the run at times. Can kind of be beat from time to time with a double move with speed. Not the best athlete. He was a player who was kind of brought up as the 2nd round pick going into this year. He didn't have a great year. And yeah, 5th to 6th grade. He was next to Ahmad Moses, who I think was much more... He popped on film to me much more than Isaiah did. But I like the player. I like the pickup. I had him with a 5th to a 6th round grade. You get him as an undrafted free agent. Maybe he can play some safety minutes for you. I don't hate it. The other player I want to bring up is Eric Gentry, who's a 6'7" linebacker / nickelback out of USC. He was just interesting. I mean, he's not great as a player. He got bullied in the run game at times. He didn't play to his height whatsoever. He could do some fun things as a pass rusher, I thought. But it's a name worth shouting out. I think he'll stick on the roster, especially with all these you like these oddity players, these chess pieces that Al Golden can use in his defense. I liked it. I liked the pickup. Overall, A- grade. I really like what the Bengals did this year. For the first time in what seems like forever, we have had a good draft. I think this is the least biased take I could give, even though it might sound as such. Truly, last year I would have given it a D if I could have. Yeah. Thank you if you stuck around to the end of this video. There are a lot of really, really exciting videos coming out soon, which I will work on with a lot of guests coming on. And yeah, it has been a pleasure.